sun goes down in Michigan, the silence doesn't just bring darkness. It brings a cold so sharp it feels like a blade against your skin. Imagine for a second that you have nowhere to go, no thermostat to turn up, no blanket that stays dry, and no door to lock against the freezing wind. For thousands of our neighbors, the Michigan winter isn't a season, it's a predator. It's a beast that breathes ice and hunts the vulnerable. This is the reality of the Great Lakes state that you won't see on a postcard or a travel brochure. Welcome to Homeless U.S. Channel. We aren't here to give you dry statistics or political talking points. We are here to show you the human souls trapped behind the numbers. Tonight, we are pulling back the curtain on the invisible crisis in Michigan, a state where the immense wealth of the automotive industry sits right next to families freezing in their cars. If you believe that no person should be forgotten in the snow, hit that subscribe button now and turn on your notifications. We have a story to tell, and it's one you won't forget. Before we begin, look out your window. Now imagine that was your only bedroom. Tell me in the comments, how long do you think you could survive if your only protection was a piece of glass and a rusted car door? Part 1. The invisible ghost of the Great Lakes. In Michigan, homelessness is a ghost. Unlike the sprawling tent cities you see in California or the high-visibility encampments in Seattle, the crisis here is masterfully hidden. It is quiet. It is tucked away in places where the public eye rarely wanders. Because the weather is so brutal, the homeless in Michigan have become experts at the art of disappearance. If they stayed in long lines on the sidewalks in the middle of January, they wouldn't survive the night. To be visible is to be vulnerable to the cold. Instead, the crisis is stowed away in rusted vehicles parked in the back of 24-hour grocery store lots, where they blend in with late-shift workers. It's in the crumbling, abandoned factories of Detroit, monuments to a golden age of industry, where the air inside is just as thick and cold as the air outside. It is in the couch-surfing families in Grand Rapids who move every 3 days, constantly apologizing for their existence, wearing out their welcome of friends. This is what we call hidden homelessness. It's the father who still shows up to a construction job every morning, using a gas station sink to shave and a hand dryer to warm his bones, while his kids sleep in the backseat of a 2010 sedan parked 3 blocks away. Because they don't look like the stereotype of a homeless person, they're often excluded from the very aid programs they desperately need. They are living an exhausting double life, trying to maintain a mask of normalcy during the day while fighting a war for survival at night. They aren't just losing their homes. They're losing their identity bit by bit in the shadows of the suburbs. The psychology of disappearance. Why do they hide? It's not just for warmth. It's the deep-seated pride of the Midwest. Many of these individuals were once the backbone of the blue-collar workforce. Admitting they have no place to go feels like admitting a total failure of the American dream. So they park in the shadows of Ford or GM plants where they once worked, ghost an economy that moved on without them. They keep their clothes clean, they keep their heads down, and they suffer in a silence so profound it becomes a part of the landscape. Part 2. The Mercury's blade, the math of survival. Winter in Michigan is not a romantic snowfall. It is a physical assault. When the temperature plummets below zero, the human body becomes a clock, and it's ticking down. The wind coming off the Great Lakes carries a moisture that gets into your clothes and stays there. Once your fabric is damp and that Lake Michigan wind hits you, hypothermia isn't just a medical risk. It is a mathematical certainty. For the unsheltered, every night is a high-stakes gamble. Fingers go numb first, losing the ability to unzip a bag or light a heater. Then the toes lose feeling. Then the mind starts to slow down as the brain tries to protect the internal organs. In the deep of a Detroit winter, the danger comes silently. You stop shivering, and you start feeling a strange, false sense of warmth. That is the final, terrifying sign that your body is giving up. Many of our neighbors in Michigan wear 5 or 6 layers of mismatched clothing, but without a source of external heat. Layers only trap the cold. We've seen people huddled near steam vents in the sidewalk, breathing in toxic fumes just to feel a second of warmth. We've seen them riding the people mover, or sitting in 24-hour laundromats, terrified to close their eyes because they know that if they fall asleep in the wrong corner, the morgue will be the one to wake them up. This is a brutal reality. In Michigan, the cold doesn't just hurt, it hunts. The science of exposure. What happens to a person after 10 hours at 10 below zero? Your blood thickens. Your heart rate slows to a crawl. The simple act of thinking becomes a monumental task. We talked to a survivor who spent a night in an abandoned basement in Flint. He told us that by 3 a.m., he couldn't remember his own children's names. The cold had literally begun to freeze his memories. When you are that cold, you aren't a person anymore. You are just a collection of survival instincts. Part 3. The anatomy of a fall. Faces in the frost. We often hear the word homeless, and our minds go to a specific, judgmental stereotype. But the faces in Michigan will shatter that image. Take a look at the mother in Lansing. 2 years ago, she had a 3-bedroom house and a steady job in a logistics warehouse. Then, a single medical emergency, an injury that led to unpaid time off, wiped out her savings. An eviction notice followed 3 weeks later. Now, she spends her nights trying to keep her 7-year-old son warm in the back of a minivan. She tells him they are camping or on a grand adventure, so he won't see the terror in her eyes. Think about the veteran in Saginaw. He served his country with honor, but the invisible wounds of service made the noise of traditional office feel like a battlefield. He didn't choose the street. The street was the only place that didn't ask him for things he no longer had to give. Or consider the students in Ann Arbor, some of the brightest minds in the state, who are attending university lectures during the day and sleeping in a library or a cold shelter at night because they can't afford both a roof and an education. The narrow bridge to poverty. How many of us are just one bad month away from this? In Michigan, the average household has less than $500 in emergency savings. If your transmission blows or your child gets sick, that bridge to stability snaps. We see people who were middle class in 2024 becoming unsheltered in 2026. The descent is fast, but the climb back up is nearly impossible. These are people with histories, with favorite songs, and with families who are often too ashamed to reach out. When we reduce them to a social problem, we lose our own humanity. They're not a them. They are an us who ran out of luck. Part 4, the shelter lottery, the illusion of safety. You might ask, why don't they just go to a shelter in Michigan during the winter? That question is a painful irony. By 4 p.m. in cities like Flint or Detroit, the shelters are often at 110% capacity. It becomes a lottery of life and death. If you are 5 minutes late because the bus didn't show up, you are left to the elements. And for many, the choice to enter a shelter is not an easy one. Some shelters don't allow pets. And for a person who has lost everything, their dog might be the only living thing that still provides warmth and unconditional love. Others don't allow couples to stay together, forcing a husband and wife to split up at the very moment they need each other's support most. The hidden dangers within. Then there is the issue of safety. If you have your entire life in one backpack, your birth certificate, your last $20, your photos of your mother, taking into a crowded room with 100 strangers can be a terrifying risk. Many survivors of trauma find the noise and chaos of a shelter more triggering than the silence of a cold alleyway. We've spoken to women who prefer the freezing wind because at least they can hear someone coming. In a crowded shelter, you are never truly safe and you are never truly alone. This creates a tragic gap where the help that is available on paper doesn't always translate to safety on the ground. We have a system that offers beds, but what these people need is a home. Part 5, the administrative wall, the cost of poverty. It is incredibly expensive and complicated to be poor in Michigan. Think about the barriers we never consider. To get a job, you need a permanent address on your resume. To get a permanent address, you need 2 months of rent for a deposit. To get help from the state, you need a valid ID. But if your ID was lost during a chaotic eviction or stolen while you slept in the park, how do you replace it without a birth certificate? And how do you get a birth certificate without an ID? The digital divide. In 2026, the world is digital. But if you don't have a smartphone or a consistent data plan, you are locked out of the world. You can't check your email for a housing update. You can't look at a map to find the nearest food pantry. You can't even apply for a job at a grocery store because paper applications don't exist anymore. This is the administrative red tape that acts like a concrete wall. In cities like Grand Rapids or Kalamazoo, there are heroic organizations trying to bridge this gap, but the system is often bogged down by paperwork designed for people with stable lives. If you are wondering where your child's next meal is coming from, or if your toes are starting to turn black from frostbite, you don't have the mental bandwidth to navigate a 20-page digital application. We are fighting a 2026 crisis with 1990s bureaucracy. When you are standing in a blizzard, you don't need a process. You need a miracle. Part 6. The Forgotten Cities, Rust and Regret. Michigan's history is a double-edged sword. The same factories that built the middle class have now become the backdrops for its decline. In places like Pontiac or Benton Harbor, the infrastructure is failing. When the water pipes freeze and burst in an abandoned apartment building, the city doesn't fix them. They just condemn the building and put the residents out on the street. The cycle of abandonment. We walk through an area of Detroit where entire blocks are returning to nature. In these urban forests, people have set up sophisticated underground shelters to survive the wind. These aren't just encampments, they are micro-societies. They share food, they watch each other's backs, and they create a sense of community that the government failed to provide. But even these small communities are under threat. Sweeps by city officials often destroy these structures, leaving the residents with nothing but the clothes on their backs. It's a cycle of displacement that moves people from one ruin to another, never solving the core problem. The rust isn't just on the buildings. It's in the way we treat our fellow citizens. Part 7. Mental health. The fragile mind in the cold. The psychological toll of homelessness in Michigan is impossible to overstate. When you are constantly cold, your brain stays in a state of fight or flight. After months or years of this, the neurological damage is real. We see people who were once articulate and sharp becoming confused and volatile. It's not just mental illness. It is the physical result of chronic stress and sleep deprivation. The numbing effect. Many people on the street turn to substances. But before we judge, we must understand. When you are sleeping on ice, a bottle of cheap liquor isn't just a vice. It's a way to keep the heart beating and the mind from screaming. It's a temporary, dangerous blanket. Without proper mental health facilities that are accessible to the homeless, these individuals are trapped. They are told to get clean before they can get housing. But how can you get clean when your reality is so painful that you can't face it sober? We are asking people to climb a mountain while we are standing on their oxygen lines. Part 8. The blueprint for a new day. Is there hope in the Great Lakes state? Yes, there is. Michigan is a state built on the grit of the assembly line and the resilience of the working class. We are seeing a powerful shift toward the housing first model. This is the revolutionary belief that you cannot fix someone's addiction, their mental health, or their unemployment until they have a place where they can lock the door and feel safe. Small homes, big dreams. In Detroit, we are seeing incredible communities building tiny home villages. These aren't just boxes. They are symbols of dignity. They provide a sense of ownership. We are seeing old motels being converted into permanent supportive housing with medical care and social workers on site. These programs are proving that when we treat homelessness as a housing failure rather than a moral one, the success rate skyrockets. But these solutions need more than just money. They need a shift in our collective heart. They need neighbors who don't say, "Not in my backyard," but instead say, "Welcome home." The Michigan winter is harsh, but it doesn't have to be lonely. We have the tools to end this. We just need the will to use them. We need to remember that every person in a sleeping bag was once someone's baby, someone's friend, someone's hope. Part 9. The Youth Crisis, the Stolen Future. One of the most heartbreaking aspects of the Michigan crisis is the number of unaccompanied youth. Thousands of teenagers are out on the streets of Grand Rapids, Flint, and Detroit. They aren't there because they want to be rebels. They are there because home became a place of danger, or because their parents could no longer afford to feed them. Schools on the street. Imagine trying to do your homework in a public library while wondering where you will sleep when they close at 8 p.m. We talked to a 17-year-old in Kalamazoo who had a 3.5 GPA while living in a storage unit. He kept his school clothes in a plastic bin to keep them from smelling like dust. These kids are the hidden future of Michigan, and we are letting them slip through the cracks. If we don't catch them now, we are creating a generation that will spend their entire lives in the cycle of poverty. Their resilience is inspiring, but it's a tragedy that they have to be resilient in the first place. Part 10. The Power of Community. Heroes in the Snow. While the systems may be failing, the people of Michigan are not. We've seen street medics who go out into the blizzards to treat frostbite. We've seen grandmothers in Detroit cooking 100 meals a day in their own kitchens to distribute to the encampments. These are the unsung heroes who are keeping the Arctic ghosts alive. What real change looks like. Real change doesn't always come from a bill in Lansing. It comes from a volunteer who spends 3 hours helping a veteran fill out a VA form. It comes from a business owner who lets people sit inside during a polar vortex without buying anything. It's about restoring the social contract. We are seeing a movement of radical empathy growing in the Midwest. People are tired of waiting for the government to solve the problem, so they are stepping up themselves. This is the true spirit of Michigan. When the world gets cold, we get closer. Outro, The Light in the Shadows. The story of Michigan's homeless is a story of incredible, quiet endurance. It's a story of people who face the most brutal conditions in the Western world and still find a way to keep their humanity intact. But they shouldn't have to be superheroes just to stay alive. As we close tonight's journey on Homeless US Channel, I want you to take a deep breath. Feel the warmth of the room you are in. That warmth is a gift. Homelessness isn't a choice. It's a set of circumstances. It's a chain of events that could happen to any of us if the safety net snapped at the wrong time. Thank you for joining us. By watching this, you've helped shine a light into a corner of America that many would prefer to keep dark. Now, I want to hear your voice. Does your city have hidden homelessness? Have you ever been close to the edge yourself? Let's start a conversation in the comments below. We read every single one. If this video moved you, please give it a like and share on your social media. Every share is a chance to wake someone up to this reality. Subscribe and hit the bell to stay with us as we continue to bring you the raw, honest truth in the streets of North America. Stay warm, stay safe, and remember, we are all much closer to each other than the world wants us to believe. We'll see you in the next story.